YouTube, shalom. Oh, it's Shabbat shalom now. God bless you all. Remember, this is the holy day. This is the day that God finished his work and he rested. Not because God was tired, but because God wanted to leave an example for us. If you look through God's creation, you see that everything he does, it has many layers of meaning, like with fractals. If you look into fractals, you can see that plants are basically made up of these repeating patterns. So, keep the law of Moses, pray towards Jerusalem. Jesus is the Son of God. He is the King of Israel. He is the Christ. He is the King of Zion. And this was known since the days of King David. King David prophesied about this. In Psalms chapter 1 and 2, Psalms chapter 1 starts off basically saying, blessed are those who keep the law of Moses. The wicked will not see good days, but those who keep the law will be blessed by God. Psalms 2 talks about how the heathens are conspiring against God and against his Christ, and that when God's anger is kindled, he will smite the heathen, and Christ, the Messiah, the Son of God, will reign forever out of the holy hill of Zion. So, just keep the law of Moses. The Old Testament God and the New Testament God are the exact same person. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Okay. Avatar the Last Airbender is satanic propaganda. I'm going to get into that right now. All anime is satanic. Stay away from it. But this is a really evil show. So this is the Avatar state. So Aang is the last airbender. He's the last of his species, the last of his race. They were all eliminated in a genocide. This is a kid show on Nickelodeon from 2005. They were all exterminated in a genocide 100 years ago, and he was the only survivor. And he emerged out of an iceberg after 100 years, and he has these special powers. Now, in this world, everybody can control one of four. Well, not everybody, but most people can control one of four elements: earth, water, fire, air, which is these four elements. It does tie into occultism. It ties into like the demons come out of certain demons are water demons, certain demons are air demons, etc. So the point being is he gets possessed by this avatar state, which is essentially like demonic possession, because he's not even really aware of what he's doing, and it makes him extremely powerful. And it usually is triggered by extreme rage, where he loses control of his emotions. So it's like a demonic state. His tattoos, a little boy with tattoos, which we know the Bible forbids us from having tattoos. We know the Torah says that tattoos are forbidden. We're not supposed to have them. We're not supposed to dress like women either. We're going to get to that one shortly. But his tattoos will glow, and he gets possessed by this demon, and this is the avatar state, where he becomes extremely powerful at his element bending. Now, he can also communicate with his past lives. These are his ascended masters, which we know to be demons. Do not try to contact these spirits. You will only find witchcraft. But he can communicate with his past lives in the show. Sometimes by staring at their statues, he can communicate with these entities. And we know all about those graven images. So this is the water tribe pendant that Katara has. Katara is his love interest. She's the one that finds him in the iceberg. If you look carefully at it, not even really that carefully, you can see the 666. So, okay, maybe it's a coincidence, right? I don't know. I saw it when I was a kid. I thought it was kind of weird. Maybe it's a coincidence. It's an Eastern Asiatic show. No, it's actually American animation. And even if it was Eastern Asian, Dragon Ball Z also had 666. They're all putting 666 into this. The fact is, the world is exactly what the Bible says it is, so we must obey the way the Bible commands us to. Here's another one. This is the air temple. He has to blow these two trumpets with a blast of air, and when he does, these little blue swirls turn around, and it looks just like the 666. Here is the I think it was the Solstice episode. Basically, there's a statue here of his past life avatar Roku, and he's waiting for the light to hit it. So this is clearly some sort of satanic ritual. We saw something very similar to this with the the Georgia guidestones where the sunlight will hit it in a certain way, and the northern solstice or summer solstice or whatever the case may be, the northern lights. But basically, they build these astrological calendars and they combine them with idolatry. And this is how Avatar is able to speak to his past life through essentially a form of divination, which is forbidden. Here's his love interest, Katara, pretending to be a water spirit called the Painted Lady to protect a village. See, they show you witchcraft, but they paint it to be good. She's doing this to protect a village from this industrious company that's oppressing the people, poisoning their water supply, all that stuff. So she pretends to be this water spirit named the Painted Lady. You can see that crescent moon on her forehead too, another wicked pagan image. And basically she's attacking people, pretending to be like a spirit. She's pretending to be a demon and attacking people. In fact, they even have idols of the Painted Lady. And at the end of the episode, the Painted Lady, the actual spirit herself, thanks Katara for what she did to defend her people. So she makes contact with a demon, and the demon is nice. See how they twist everything? You see how they twist everything. So here's a shaman who teaches Aang about the chakras, teaches him how to unlock the chakras, and a lot of children ended up falling into this line as well. Opening up chakras seems to me like something that happens naturally. If you are a Christian, if you follow the law of Moses, if you follow Christ, you're going to kind of do that eventually on your own. So there's 7 chakras. I forgot what they were, but he basically says one's blocked by fear, one's blocked by this, one's blocked by that. And the highest one is the one that connects you to God. But if you're doing these chakra openings and you're not doing it to connect yourself to God, you're going to connect yourself to another spirit. There are many different kinds of spirits, but there's only one Holy Spirit. And you can only receive the Holy Spirit to the extent that you are willing to obey God and do what is necessary to have close contact with Him. Follow His commandments, pray, burn sacrifices, all that stuff. Well, he does these rituals to open his chakras. And at the end, he's like crossing a celestial bridge to his avatar state, which it looks like this. In the video, it's like this. He's crossing a bridge to reach this, which looks like a terrifying demon. If you saw something like this, would you not be terrified? But he looks at this and he thinks, wow, this is great power. I can't wait to unlock it. So, all kinds of stuff in this show. All kinds of Eastern paganism. Very dangerous Tibetan voodoo witchcraft stuff. Here is this is, I believe, the season 1 finale. He basically becomes a giant water demon, and all the Water Tribe soldiers bow down to it, and all the Fire Nation soldiers get destroyed by it. So what ends up happening is Admiral Zhao kills this fish, which has like the moon spirit inside of it, and when he kills it, like the whole Earth goes out of balance. There's like it actually kind of ties in with some stuff in the Bible, because he puts it in a bag first. And when he puts it in a bag, everything turns red. And the Bible says that the day of the Lord, the sun will turn black, the moon will turn red, the stars will fall from heaven. Like once he puts it in the bag, the whole earth like loses balance. And he gets forced to release it back into the lake, and then he kills it and everything turns black. And then Aang gets upset about this, and he goes into the avatar state. He goes into the pond, and he basically comes out as this giant water demon. And he starts killing all of his enemies. And they're worshiping this. The Water Nation people bow down on hands and knees, like fully prostrated like Muslims do, to this entity. And I mean, this is terrifying. If you saw something like this, would you worship it? Avatar says you should. Here's another spirit. I think this one was called Heibai. It's like abducting villagers, and he has to go into the spirit world to rescue them. It ends up just being, oh, it's a fluffy bear. It was just misunderstood. It was angry because its forest was burned. So it's like, oh, the nature spirits, they just like, they're mad at us because we're dangerous to their environment. So it's like, if people would just be nicer to nature, the nature spirits wouldn't be so mean to us. Oh, is that why you're trying to depopulate humanity? Because we're just so bad to the environment? Essentially, that's what it is. Like this whole climate change agenda. It's basically nature spirit worship. Mother Earth is mad at us because we have fossil fuels, and that's why Mother Earth is sending tornadoes. And if we could just reduce the human population, we would reduce the pollution. Mother Earth would be happy. This is just some druidic pagan human sacrifice stuff. That's all it is. Bill Gates said it at the TED Talk. We want to reduce the human population with vaccines, and this will help us bring down our carbon emissions. All right, Bill Gates, we see you, and God sees you, and you will not escape the justice of the King of Zion in Armageddon. That which is determined shall be poured upon the desolate. Daniel chapter 9. You better believe that the desolate are going to get what they got coming in Armageddon, and none of you guys will be able to hide. So, excuse me. The Torah says that a man should not wear women's clothing and a woman should not wear men's clothing. There's a village called the Kyoshi Warriors. There's a village called Kyoshi named after one of the former avatars. And all the women there are the soldiers. The men are basically weak. So the women in this village are all feminist soldiers. And by the way, the show has a lot of neoliberal ideologies like feminism and stuff, like also disobeying your parents. Sokka and his sister sneak away and because they want to help Aang, and the grandmother catches them. And instead of scolding them like, how dare you do this to us? You're getting in trouble again. I just told you not to do this. She helps them pack and says, oh, I'm so proud of you. But the point here is that the one on the right is literally a boy. And he wants to learn how to be a soldier. He wants to learn how to be a warrior by the Kyoshi. And they force him to wear makeup and a dress. And he's even mistaken for a woman as this happens. And she gives him a kiss. So it's kind of got a little like lesbian trans kind of thing going. It's like, it's not gay because he's a boy and she's a girl. It's like, it's kind of gay because he's wearing makeup when it happens and a dress. So, gender bending. They're putting gender bending in the kids show. So here we see his tattoos. Tattoos are forbidden in the law of Moses, and this is just a little child. He doesn't have parents. He was abducted from his parents or something, made to live with monks. I mean, it's very strange. This show has, if you look at it critically, you can see like, hey, what are they teaching kids in this? This is him in his avatar state controlling the elements. He's not even really in control of his mind when this happens. Sometimes he goes into a blind rage and he almost kills people. And, oh, yeah. And in one of the episodes, he drinks a psychedelic cactus. So they're teaching children that it's funny to drink mescaline. So they're wandering through the desert. They get stranded, and he finds a cactus. He chops it. He drinks some of the juice out of it because he wants to stay hydrated. And he starts hallucinating for several hours. And this is like a real thing. We all know about peyote. We all know about mescaline. And they put that in a kid's show. Could you imagine if you took mushrooms? Could you imagine if you smoked weed? Why is it okay that he ate a psychedelic cactus on a Nickelodeon show? And we already know about Nickelodeon with Dan Schneider and all that stuff. So let's not pretend that, Nickelodeon had some problems with Dan Schneider, but this is okay because it's a cartoon. By the way, the voice actor, this guy, I think his name was Jack DeSena, he actually worked on Dan Schneider's show All That as well. So he refuses to train her because his tribe has strict gender roles. They don't believe women should be soldiers. The women should be homemakers and healers, which I agree with. I think these gender roles are good. And she's a little feminist rebel. So she assaults him. She slaps him in the back of the head with a water whip, and he attacks her. He fights back against her, and he ends up winning the fight. But basically, this woman assaulted a man for his, practically for like his religious beliefs, because their culture, their entire civilization was founded on strict gender roles. And she said, screw that. You're going to teach him. I'm going to whoop your ass. So she attacks him. She assaults this man unprovoked. She challenges him to a fight. She says, meet me outside if you're tough enough to fight. A few minutes later, he walks outside, walks right past her. He's like, I'm not fighting you. Go back to the tent and learn how to heal with the other girls. And then so she assaults him. She whips him in the back of the head with some water. And then they fight. And it's like, this woman is not a good role model. Katara is a horrible, I should have added some other stuff to it. Hold on. Maybe I'll add it in afterwards. So this is before the battle. Now look at those face masks. Does that not look pagan to you? Also, those lines on their head. It doesn't exactly look like it, and I think there was another scene where it looked more like this. the number 6 in Hebrew kind of looks like that. Whatever the case may be, they put these 3 lines on somebody's forehead. This is a thing that they did before the battle. And we know about the mark of the beast, the 666. It will be in your head or in your palm. And you can read about that in Revelation chapter 13, I believe. So, is that what this is supposed to be? I'm not sure. But it is interesting. That battle paints. Definitely pagan stuff going on here. So here's Mark Hamill playing the role of the Fire Lord, who is like the evil emperor trying to take over the world and exterminate all his enemies. And we know Mark Hamill's an occultist. We know he's not a good guy. He's into all kinds of neoliberal stuff. And if somebody asked him what his religion was, I'm sure he'd say some sort of like, oh, I believe in nature and the universe and blah, blah, blah. But we can see what Mark Hamill's about. The fact that he still endorses Joe Biden should tell us everything we need to know about Mark Hamill. So I think this is the last one. Now we got a few. Oh, yeah, I remember that one. Okay, let me plug this thing in real quick. So these are like fire sages, I think they were called. And you can tell they're modeled after like Aztec priests. And they teach Aang and Zuko some ancient firebending techniques. But we know about the Aztecs and the Mayans. These people were sacrificing people, eating people, sun worshippers. Like this is, so they basically put a hardcore satanic cult into this show, and they made them to be the good guys. They're going to teach the good guys how to fight better. But yeah, no, this is a very wicked civilization, and they were glorified in this show. Everything was modeled very much after the Aztec and the Mayan pyramids. Everything. The whole episode, when they got to these people, everything from their architecture to their culture, everything was modeled after the Aztecs, Mayans, and Incans. So here's a woman, I think her name was Hana, and she is the first bloodbender, which means she can control people by bending the water inside of their bodies. It's basically like a form of witchcraft. I believe this was like a Halloween episode as well, but there's no Halloween in this show, so they basically did something like this, like a horror episode. So she first introduces herself as a kind old innkeeper. One of the characters, Toph, she can like feel through the ground, and she hears a bunch of people screaming underneath the earth, and then the screaming stops. And then this lady shows up, and she invites them from their campsite to stay with her in her hotel, and they agree to join her. And then she reveals she's from the Southern Water Tribe, just like Katara is, and she ends up teaching Katara how to bloodbend, which is basically manipulation of somebody's body with the blood inside of them, with the water bending. And basically, she's the one kidnapping all these people and forcing them to walk on the full moons. Every full moon, she was full moons. We know about the occult practices of the moon, the occult practices of the full moon. So she was making them walk into the cave where she would basically keep them like bound under the earth as like slaves or hostages. I don't know, who knows what she was doing. But I mean, look at how creepy that is. You want your kid watching a show like this? You want your kid watching a show where a witch is possessing people, controlling their bodies? All right, there was one more thing I wanted to look up. Oh, yeah, okay, I remember now. 1 second. So this is how she dresses in the 3rd season. Would you be comfortable with your 13-year-old daughter dressing like this? They're putting this on a kid show. A hyper-sexualized outfit. This is a prostitute outfit. Any woman who wears this publicly does not respect herself. So, for the kids, putting sex appeal in the kids shows. One more thing I wanted to touch on. Okay, so this is Iroh. He is the uncle of Zuko, who's trying to redeem his honor by capturing the Avatar. And he is shown as the voice of reason and an enlightened old man. But in the 1st season, and possibly in other seasons as well, but definitely in the 1st season, he's actually shown to have a really messed up moral compass. Here he's pretending to be paralyzed. They both get attacked by this paralysis venom, and he's pretending to be paralyzed so he can cuddle with this woman. Think about this for 1 sec. How old is he? 60, 70? How old is she? 20, 25? And this is involuntary, She's basically drugged. He's basically not. And he's holding on to her like he is because he has an excuse. He's shown to steal. He's shown to play tricks. But he's also presented as a wise sage of an old man. And he's part of a secret society called the White Lotus. And in this show, the White Lotus Secret Society is portrayed as a benevolent organization. Yeah, like the Freemasons, right? So we can see that this show has a very corrupt moral compass. And every show has a corrupt moral compass. Because in the end, everything that you're seeing, it's not showing you white and black. It's showing you different shades of gray. There's only one white, and that is obedience to Yahweh. Everything God spoke through the prophets, everything he spoke through his son, that we must obey. And that is white. That is good. Everything dark and wicked comes from disobedience to these commandments. There used to be one commandment. Don't eat the fruit. Don't eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That was the only thing we were expected to keep. It was a very simple request, very simple command. None of it's a request. God's not requesting us to obey him. He's commanding us to obey him and warning us that if we don't, bad things will happen. So let's not allow our moral compass to be shaped by television and social media. Let's make sure that we obey Yahweh. The God of Israel gave us very clear instructions. We must keep those instructions. And if we do, everything will go well for us. Television, satanic. Anime especially is satanic. Dragon Ball Z, Yu-Gi-Oh, all of it. All of it is wicked, and we must not allow it to penetrate into our minds. God bless.